Welcome. I am Crimey Queen. If you are joining us for the first time, it's the channel where we have fun with words and numbers, numerology to be precise. This is where we are get in our food, if you like. Oh, that reminds me for the word food. So the word food, of course, is what Mother Eve saw, that the fruit was good for food. That is what we are told. Now, I have watched a couple presentations on that subject where it seemed to give a clear indication, as we have been taught, that that would have been what how sin came into the world, or how the imbalance came into the world. However, we are not to forget that the word food does not necessarily mean that which is edible only, like through our mouths, because one can breathe as well as a form of nutrition, and that would be food. Whatever is satisfying for the body in this sense, I call it food. But it would be interesting to do a numerical value because we are all about numbers. Let's see what food holds for us here. And yes. So three sixes, hey, that's interesting. The three sixes are 18 plus 4, that would be 22. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Of course, I can also see why that would hold true even on our template, because I kind of see that from here, from number 1 to number 4, it seemed that it is a stage where we are preoccupied with our primal needs, our development, primal development. It's that stage that for that which sets the foundation, that which is occupied with the root chakra. So it would seem to have that kind of connection. So I can understand that, and it's not saying that it is not so at all. But I'm also seeing that food is also relational on a higher vibration, where we can also see it as like talking about Mother Eve ate of the fruit which she saw as food. That would mean food to illuminate oneself, that which was necessary. So Mother Eve equal 5, and food equals 4. 4 plus 5 equals 9. That would mean that this is where Mother Eve paid her dues, went to the heavens, her headquarter zone, would have had to go to headquarter zone and pay her dues to the inland revenue. The inland revenue, that's where God probably had called them from the garden. Come forth where you're hiding, come and face, whatever it is, however one wants to see it. And we could see from the word sacrifice at the end would be Mother Eve's signature right here, because they had birthed a newness. They had birthed a new life. They had birthed something in and something to review. I'm just looking at the two letters here, which is it denotes something was taken in and something was reviewed. And so this is why, of course, this is what we do with our taxes as well. We review our taxes or what we have to pay. The inland revenue, it's reviewing. Okay, so back to our presentations on Genesis of chapter 1, verse 1 to 2. I don't think we have gone much further, but there's no rush. There's no reason why we should rush this thing, because talking about food, this is when we have delicious food, you take your time, with you look at the presentation, you look at the colors, you smell the aroma, and you take your time. So we eat with our eyes, which reminds me, I think that is where we are going with this presentation. We eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouths. Okay, so here we see that the act of eating, for instance, that's the word eat, which equals the activity of ate, the past tense, it equals ate. Ate actually is, of course, in the mouth. So these naked eyes that we have here are a representation of what takes place in the participation or anticipation, I think, of eating, okay, of food, in gestation, okay. So there we are talking about eyes as well. So God, we must remember this. We are talking about God. So God, the word God equal 8. It equals 8. Okay. It equals 8. For something to equal to something, that means they hold the same vibration. God equals 8. And what the activity that Mother Eve had performed by eating of the fruit it equals God. Now that is really crucial. That is crucial. Eat and God. That is where the number 13 comes into play. Because now eat and God is on the same par. So we are talking about two sets of eyes there. We could say that. Mother Eve and God. So that would be, or if we added those together, 8 and 8 would be 16. That means 1 plus 6 is 7. So we can see how there was a saw, if you like, a cutting away, a parting. Now, before I continue, there is something I observe, and I want to capture the essence of that. So we have been looking at the five-pointed star, the five senses, or five fingers. Another thing that I was looking at with the five fingers, and I was also looking at the number 15, I really want to nip this in here. So we were looking at Adam, which is 10, and 5 for Eve, which is 15. And then I also saw that looking at the hand, you may look at observe my hand. To each finger, including my thumb, we have 3 segments um, indicated on here. So that means we have 3 fives of 15. So there we see how 15 has come about. So this is 1 6. But we have that on the other hand, so that would be 12. We can see how 12. So of both hands, this is where the word double came into play as well. So that would be 12. And we can see if we were to add 1 plus 2, that will also be 3 of the 12, which is coming back to these 3 segments here. Everything is interrelated, but I believe that the more we get to understand our makeup is the more we'll appreciate the essence of that which we are. Many of us have not even really taken the time to say, well, oh, I have got these 3 segments. Of course, it's there because we have our hands all the time, but we do not do that consciously to digest the essence of our makeup, to digest the beauty. And so I feel that the purpose of this presentation in particular is to allow us to do that, allow us to love ourselves, allow us to, and I say us, US is for, that is, allow the north, south, east, and west of our being to embrace. This is us, to allow, and this is like the Christ with the 2 feet hair and the arms stretched out. to embrace, and that is a form of embracing that which we are. Okay, so I was saying US, this is 3 and 1, the 31, meaning it's the month, the amount of days in the month on average. All right, so one of the things that really occurred to me as well, looking at my five-pointed star, which is beautifully drawn, is that this point here of each circle or segment, let's say segment, is in correlation to the depth here. From here to there, well, we could say that. We could say that from here to there and there to this point equals this outer point. So that is indicative of how God called the light out of the dark. It's as though it were a pulling, and there we see the word darkness. Let's look at darkness. D-A-R-K. Let's look at that. There is the ark. There was always something about the ark in the Old Testament. The ark. So we see that the ark is always a representation of light. This is where the ark is where it's Noah's ark. It gives a shelter. It gives it offers a place of solace or light or reflection. That's the word. It represents reflection. It represents a movement or something, a relationship. So we see that the letter D as well, of course, has that arch shape to it. As it has an arch to it. We could also say that it is equivalent to the reverse of that depth that is here and the arc. So basically, of course, this is a straight line, but we can imagine that the V point here is like the dome. It's like a dome, and here is straight. So basically, the word arc is offering a representation of that which was from the beginning. Okay. The other thing that we have, I like to cover and reiterate in these presentations, that Mother Eve, which is in these points here, with the 5 points, we see 5 points, that's Mother Eve. 5, of course, as we have looked at our hand, the 5 points, we have 5 fingers to each hand, that's 10. And we also have 2 or toes, 5 toes. So we could say these are the hands, and our toes, 5 here. And we have our head, but we could say that we have the 5 senses round the head. Our nose, our eyes, our ears, and touch and, well, smell. So it's really tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, and tasting, smell, tasting, hearing, seeing, smelling, and touching. Yeah, so these are the 5 senses. So we see that Mother Eve also represents the 5 senses here. And when we add these segments here, for instance, 2, which is out, because Mother Eve is also within, without. It's with and without. So we have 2 here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And this is the Adam we are talking about, because that is 10. So, because when we add 1 plus 1 is 2. So we have 10, this is Adam. This is man. This is where we all come from. Okay. And just to cover this, so we have seen that the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and this is where God brought the light out of the darkness, out of the darkness. So, of course, here is what we have learned to as out. And in, of course, in is 5. So we can see that when we have the numerical value for the word in, so all here is in, in is 14, 1 plus 4 is 5. Also, when we do the numerical value for Mother Eve, the word Eve is also 1 plus 4. We have done this. EVE is 5 plus 4 plus 5. That's 14. And that holds true for Christ as well, the word Christ. So basically, when we are able to embrace all of this as the whole, as balance, and because this is the balance, this is the scale that we are talking about, instead of having giving more attention to the dark hair, which was what we could say was done. Well, no, because with the Spirit of God, meaning the Spirit was the Spirit, having said that, Spirit is 10, also gives a clear indication that it was in direct correlation with these points here, in and without, with and without, and heaven, of course. So the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So we could see that spirit equals 5, no, spirit equals 10. It moved. So that would mean that the spirit had also had a direct correlation with all of this surface right here, numerically speaking. But it would be 1. Spirit is 1, and we see the double ones here. But we have also showed how Mother Eve spurt out double ones, because in here is also 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, Mother Eve is in and without. And the earth, so this is the thing as well, the earth. We can see how the earth, the numerical value for earth came about too, because this is 5, or each point, whether we want to see it as 5 or the whole as 5, and 2. So 5 and 2 equals 7. When we do the numerical value for the word earth, it equals 7. When we do the numerical value for mother, it equals 7. So we see how there were 2 sevens, or several sevens. Okay, we have 5 sevens. There are 5 sevens here. So let's just look at that. I think it's worth looking at this. Do the maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 sevens. 5 sevens are 35. 3 plus 5 equals 8. So this is what we call God. This is what Eve ate. So this is Eve ate. That's why I'm believing the word Eve ate as if ate was actually the title or the surname or the whole. So the word ate is giving a clear representation of the wholeness right here. So this is Mother Eve. And this is also God. But of course, we have much more to discover. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you have found this fun. If you like this presentation, click the like button and share, because this is how we do it. We share to actualize in self-full love. Stay blessed, stay bright, be a field, because we are planting new seeds, and spill over with love. Namaste. Delicious.